Renowned filmmaker David Lynch, celebrated for his surreal and visionary works such as Twin Peaks, Blue Velvet, and Mulholland Drive, passed away on January 15, 2025, at the age of 78. His family announced his death, stating that it has left a big hole in the world. The funeral service for David Lynch is scheduled to be held at the historic Wilshire Ebell Theater in Los Angeles, California. The ceremony will begin at 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time, with doors opening an hour earlier for attendees. The service is expected to be attended by family, close friends, and collaborators who worked with Lynch throughout his illustrious career. In the wake of his passing, numerous tributes have poured in from the film industry. Steven Spielberg, who cast Lynch as John Ford in The Fabelmans, wrote, "Here was one of my heroes. David Lynch playing one of my heroes. The world is going to miss such an original and unique voice." Martin Scorsese remarked, "He put images on the screen unlike anything that I or anybody else had ever seen. He made everything strange, uncanny, revelatory, and new." Collaborators such as Kyle MacLachlan, Naomi Watts, and Nicolas Cage also shared heartfelt statements honoring Lynch. David Lynch's unique and influential contributions to cinema have left an indelible mark on the industry, and he will be deeply missed by fans and peers alike. The world has lost one of its most visionary storytellers. David Lynch, the mastermind behind Twin Peaks and Mulholland Drive, has passed away, leaving behind a cinematic legacy like no other. But as Hollywood gathers to bid farewell, one question lingers. How will the world remember a filmmaker who thrived on mystery and the unknown? Join us as we uncover the final chapter in the life of a legend. David Lynch, a name synonymous with mystery, surrealism, and the uncanny. He wasn't just a filmmaker, he was a creator of worlds, someone who turned the mundane into the extraordinary. But what happens when such a figure, larger than life, leaves us? What unfolds when the curtain falls on a man whose art defied reality itself? David Lynch's funeral wasn't just a farewell. It was an event drenched in symbolism, emotion, and mystery, just like his life and work. On that day, the lines between reality and art blurred one final time. It left attendees stunned, fans weeping, and the world asking, was this a funeral, a puzzle, or David Lynch's last story? Today, we'll take you into the hauntingly beautiful, deeply symbolic, and utterly unique event that was David Lynch's funeral. Every detail of that day revealed something about him. The man, the artist, the enigma. The day began like no other in Los Angeles. A strange hush had settled over the city, as if even the traffic had paused to mourn. Unlike the typical glamorous Hollywood farewells, Lynch's funeral had an air of secrecy. Invitations were cryptic, sent via handwritten notes and unmarked envelopes. They provided only a set of GPS coordinates and a single instruction: arrive at 3:33 p.m. Wear black. Nothing else. As guests arrived, they found themselves outside a massive, decrepit warehouse in an industrial area of the city. The building looked like something out of a Lynch film. Dark, uninviting, yet oddly magnetic. The entrance was marked by a single neon sign flickering the word "Dreams." Inside, the space was dimly lit, with walls covered in dark velvet curtains. The floor was a familiar black and white zigzag pattern, a direct nod to the infamous Red Room from Twin Peaks. Ambient sounds filled the room. Faint whispers, droning winds, and the occasional, unnerving sound of a distant scream. Guests later said it felt like stepping into one of Lynch's movies, a space between reality and dreams. At the center of the room was Lynch's coffin. It wasn't grand or elaborate, but eerily simple, made of unpolished wood. Around it were symbols of his life and art: a tape recorder labeled "The Owl's Call," a model of the Mulholland Drive street sign, and a stack of film reels tied with red string. A subtle fog hung low to the ground, giving the entire scene an otherworldly atmosphere. The guest list was as eclectic and intriguing as Lynch's work. Hollywood's biggest names were there, but this wasn't an event for the red carpet. Quentin Tarantino stood in the corner, dressed in a simple black suit, quietly observing the room. Christopher Nolan, another admirer of Lynch's surrealism, seemed engrossed in the details of the setup. Actors who had worked closely with Lynch were visibly emotional. Kyle MacLachlan, Lynch's muse, and the unforgettable Agent Dale Cooper stood near Laura Dern, holding her hand as she wiped away tears. Dern later remarked, "David always said life is like a dream. Today, it feels like we're living in his dream. One final time." The presence of fans was equally significant. Outside the venue, hundreds gathered, holding candles and photographs. They weren't allowed inside, but their chants of "Fire Walk With Me" echoed in the distance, paying tribute to one of Lynch's most iconic works. What made Lynch's funeral truly unique was its lack of spoken words. There were no eulogies, no speeches. Instead, the ceremony unfolded as a carefully crafted piece of performance art. The event began with a film, revealed to have been directed by Lynch himself in his final weeks. As the projector flickered to life, the audience was greeted with abstract visuals. A lone tree swaying in the wind, a black telephone ringing endlessly, and disjointed phrases written in Lynch's signature handwriting. One phrase stood out, repeated multiple times. "The dream is eternal." The film transitioned into black and white footage of Lynch's favorite locations, the foggy woods of Twin Peaks, the diners of * Blue Velvet, and the dark, winding roads of Lost Highway. Angelo Badalamenti's haunting score accompanied these images, sending chills through the audience. In the film's final moments, Lynch himself appeared on screen, sitting in a dimly lit room. His voice was calm yet deeply resonant. "This is not the end. It's just the continuation of the dream. Remember, it's all connected. The light, the dark, the beautiful, and the strange." As the film ended, the room fell into complete silence. Then, as if on cue, a hidden door opened at the back of the warehouse. Behind it was a surreal recreation of the Red Room from Twin Peaks. The guests were invited to walk through this space. The black and white zigzag floor seemed to stretch endlessly, while the red velvet curtains swayed slightly, as though moved by an invisible force. In the center of the room stood a mannequin dressed as the Log Lady, holding a wooden log with a note attached. The note read, "It's not about what you see. It's about what you feel." The experience left many guests in awe. Kyle MacLachlan later described it as a portal into David's mind, a place where the rules of reality no longer apply. Back in the main room, the guests began sharing their memories of Lynch. Kyle MacLachlan recalled how Lynch would spend hours perfecting the smallest details, saying he once stopped filming for an entire day because the sound of the wind wasn't right. That's how much he cared. Laura Dern added, "David taught me to see beauty in the strange, to embrace the things that don't make sense at first. He changed the way I see the world." Tarantino, known for his own unique storytelling style, called Lynch the godfather of surrealism, while Nolan described him as a filmmaker who didn't just tell stories. He invited you into his dreams. As the ceremony drew to a close, attendees were handed small envelopes. Inside each envelope was a handwritten note from Lynch. The messages were unique to each person, but all carried the same central idea: keep dreaming. For Laura Dern, the note read, "There's always another layer to the story. Find it." For Tarantino, it said, "Stories are everywhere. Tell the ones no one else will." Outside the venue, the fans who had gathered were surprised by one final gesture. A large screen was set up, playing a loop of Lynch's films and interviews. As the sun set, a single spotlight illuminated the sky, accompanied by the faint sound of a jazz saxophone. David Lynch's funeral wasn't just a goodbye. It was an experience, a piece of art that reflected his life's work. It reminded us of his ability to turn the ordinary into the extraordinary, to find beauty in the strange and meaning in the mysterious. But it also left us with a question. How do we as fans carry forward his legacy. Lynch always believed that life is a dream, a series of interconnected moments, each one stranger and more beautiful than the last. So what will you do with that dream? Will you revisit his films, looking for new meanings? Or will you, as Lynch often encouraged, step into the unknown and create something uniquely your own? The dream doesn't end, it continues in all of us. What will you do with it? As the curtains close on David Lynch's final chapter, his legacy remains etched in the surreal worlds he created, worlds that challenged, mystified, and inspired generations of filmmakers and dreamers. Though he is gone, his influence will forever linger like a haunting melody in the vast landscape of cinema. What is your favorite David Lynch moment or film that left a lasting impact on you? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep his vision alive.